Emma Frost is the newest hero to be added into Rivals for the start of Season 2, and I think she's a really strong and unique tank. Her auto attack and shield allow her to control space and poke really well, and then her diamond form allows her to get up in the faces of enemies and crowd control them and take the fight to the opponents. Pairing this with her ultimate, which is one of the most unique ultimates in the game, allowing you to interrupt and prevent enemy ultimates, I think she's in a really strong spot and a really good hero to learn. So I'm going to start off by talking about her E, which is her shard. Now, the shard is really useful for extending your effective range and for charging up your auto attack. So you can see here, you can use the shard from 24 meters away, right? And there's a tether between the shard and the hero, which is a 15-meter tether. So you need to be careful that you can destroy the shard before they break the tether. Once opponents learn about the tether, they'll be breaking it a lot of the time. Now, the damage you do to the shard is reflected onto the hero, okay? So you can see how if you're out of range to hit your auto, pulling the shard allows you to poke and build charge from further away. Now, the other thing about the shard is that it does max % health damage, right? So this is why I've chosen Groot for the demonstration, because he has the highest health in the game. But when you pull a shard, it basically becomes a fragment of that champion or of that hero further away. You can do damage to it, and it has 25% of your target's health. And when you break it, it does 25% max health. So here we go. I'll pull the shard, reflect the damage onto him, and then when it pops, he ends up below half health instantly. And I've only used like less than half of my ammo, and I've half health to Groot. And I didn't even have my auto charged up. So that's why this shard is so strong. Now the other part of the shard that's strong is you can shoot through it with your beam. So you can see if I pull this out, I can do the damage to the shard and the Groot at the same time. So now I'm going to talk about Emma's primary ranged attack, which is her laser beam. And as you can see, she has 70 ammo in the bottom left corner. And when you use the laser beam, the ammo is used up at 10 per second. So this gives you 7 seconds of beam, right? And the other thing about the laser is you can see the HUD in the middle of the screen, and how I gain charge from hitting heroes. So as well as heroes giving you 10 charge per second, and then the shard giving you 15 charge per second, you can also hit summoned items around the map, such as Loki clones, such as squids, and they will give you 5 charge per second. So it's nowhere near as much, but it's a great way to keep your primary charge topped up all the time in downtime between fights, so you're always maintaining 50 plus charge. Now, the interesting thing about the charge is that your primary attack does 70 damage per second whilst it has 0 charge, and this scales all the way up to 120 damage per second when you have 99 charge. But when you hit 100 charge, the indicator in the center of the screen will glow, and you will start being able to do 150 DPS. So I'll show you here quickly how quickly you can melt the Groot. You also get a little sound effect to indicate this is up. And what you need to be careful of is that after 3 seconds of not hitting anything with it, it will start to disappear quickly at a rate of 30 charge per second. So you need to be using your laser beam and the shard to keep your charge up as much as possible. It's kind of like Zarya from Overwatch. It's an interesting mechanic on the hero. And to maximize your damage, to be hitting that 150 DPS, you need to be using these two skills together. The simplest part of Emma's kit is her shield. It has 500 health, you can throw it 40 meters away, and it regenerates very quickly. So when it takes damage and you call it back, after a short period, it will regenerate at 70 shield per second. So this is a very simple spell. I mean, the range you can throw it to help allies out. It blocks from both directions. And the only thing I've really learned from using the shield is that you want to try and recall it back by pressing F, sort of like Invisible Woman's shield. You want to recall it back before it breaks, because it will start regenerating and you can use it again quicker than if the enemy team destroy it. Now, as I mentioned, her ultimate is very unique. You can see here it has a large radius, it has a large cone. So it has a 30 meter range and it does 80 DPS and it channels for 6 seconds, right? And now the interesting thing is you can see from the indicator above the Groot's head that after 1.5 seconds they'll be mind controlled and they'll walk towards you. This is also what will interrupt and cancel ultimates. I'll put in a clip from Super Stream where I saw him get his Iron Fist ultimate cancelled, which is very unique to say the least, because I thought it would just prevent you from using your ultimate in the first place, which is already strong enough. But the fact that if you are using a channeled ultimate such as Iron Fist, Hawkeye, one of these sort of characters, that your ultimate can be cancelled after you're mind controlled, that is just a whole nother level to it. And the final part of our ultimate I want to talk about is the fall off with the damage. So I've said it's got a 30 meter range, but the thing is, it only does 80 DPS in the first 10 meters of the ultimate. If someone's max range away at 30 meters, they are going to be taking 50% damage. So they'll only be taking 40 DPS, right? So you can see here how much damage this ult does. And then if I get within the 10 meter range, the actual radius of the cone doesn't reach the two Groots on the side, but you can see how much more damage it did to the Groot in the middle. So the next thing is the cone. The cone, the ultimate has like a 30 degree cone. So you can imagine this whole view in front of me is 180, and the ultimate hits sort of where the edges of the squares are, like the indicator shows you. But there is also damage fall off on the cone. So it does 80% reduced damage at 20 degrees, right? So it only does full damage at the guy you're pointing at. It doesn't do full damage to the guy on the edge. So this is another thing to be conscious of. You need to be pointing your crosshair at the target you want to kill, because the damage is way higher the closer you are and the more centered the cone is. Now the last thing I'm going to talk about is the diamond form. As you can see here, the diamond form lasts for 8 seconds, and whilst you're in diamond form you get 30% reduced damage reduction, which is huge. This is basically like what the thing had pre-nerf. So it's a huge defensive cooldown. You're CC immune. You can't be slowed, you can't be knocked, you can't be moved, and you take 30% reduced damage. And this allows you to get right up in people's faces. And both of your abilities change. So you can see here, I'll just show you them quickly before it runs out. But your right click or your alternate fire becomes a kick, and the kick does 50 damage, or if you hit them into a wall, it does another 50 damage. So you can see here, 50 damage. If I do it into a wall, it takes way more damage. The kick has a 5 meter range and a 10 meter knockback. So you can do it from quite far away, and it only has a 2-second cooldown. So within the 8-second channel, you can get 2 or 3 of them off easily. Now her E is the interesting one, it's the dash. This has a 7 meter dash range, and it does 30 damage when you hit them. But it will also put you behind the target in a sort of wrestling move, like slam. So you can see how this sort of becomes like a fighting game move, where you want to position yourself in a certain way so there's a wall near you or behind you, so you can grab someone and kick them straight into it. Because the grab gives you a 1.5 seconds of CC, and the kick like knocks them back, so they can't do anything, they can't move whilst they're in the air. The interesting thing as well is the shard also works while you're in diamond form. So if you are up close and personal, there's someone diving on you, you're taking a lot of damage, you can use your shard and hop into diamond form and start comboing people. Now as you saw there on my autos, I'll talk about that next. So your primary fire sort of becomes a 4-piece combo, which does 50, 50, 70 and then 90. So that is a lot of damage. That's like 260 damage from 4 autos. And especially when you have the shard out, it does double damage to all of them. So you can see here how chunked he's getting. And you can get basically 3 of those rotations off before your diamond form runs out. You'll be doing abilities in between, so you're not always going to get the 3 out. So I'm going to show you a quick combo that I've learned from my hour or 2 of playing Frost. I'm sure there's going to be loads of awesome ones figured out. So you want to E, shift, do your auto combo, kick, Then dive in with the grab, move to the side, and you can kick them into the wall. And that's going to kill pretty much every single character in the game. Groot has the highest health. He survived with about 10. I'm sure if you maxed out the combo, you could get another auto in there somewhere, or your teammate's going to help you out with a little bit of damage too. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of tech developed on Frost over the next couple of weeks, but I just wanted to get this video on the damage numbers out early. So leave a like if you learned something, and maybe a comment if you want to see a specific hero guide. Thanks.